Greetings, Kindred. I am voivodemekhet, and welcome back to Tapping the Vein. With me is Silent Comedy. Say hi, Silent.
Hello.
And today,
Glad to be here, man.
today is the penultimate episode of this. I don't want to call it a season of Tapping the Vein, but like this section of Tapping the Vein. We're covering the core book, and after this, we'll be doing the player's guide. But we're probably going to take a little bit of a break just to like maybe catch up a little bit and breathe. But today we're covering the Caitiff. We're covering the Clanless.
Yeah, man. I
So
mean, first of all, like, I can't believe we're already here. Um, this
it's
has really been,
it's gone
uh,
kind of weirdly fast.
yeah, it's like I I can't help but think back, and I'm like, oh yeah, 4 weeks ago we recorded the first video. It's like that's not accurate at all.
That's no, it
But yeah,
hasn't been 4 weeks. We've done them like once a week.
I know.
And that
Yeah,
was
it's
it.
crazy that It just doesn't feel like that much time has passed since we started doing this. I think it's just I've thoroughly enjoyed doing it.
Oh,
You
I
know?
have I have something humorous to tell you actually, considering what we're talking about.
Okay.
Not the Caitiff, but like starting this whole thing, doing this whole thing.
Okay.
Yesterday I was speaking to Fangs After Dark. Like we were just texting back and forth. He's another YouTube channel. He's
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, yesterday I was talking to Fangs After Dark, and he's like, "Man, I really wish you guys had gone alphabetical and started with the Banu Hakim," which is kind of funny
Because we did
because we
originally.
did start alphabetically. We had done like probably the best episode ever with the Banu Hakim,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Like
sound didn't record.
the community will never believe me when I say this, but to date, the best tapping the vein episode that was ever done between Mekhet and I is the one that didn't record
Yeah,
properly.
yeah, it was great. It was such a
It
great
was
episode, such a great conversation.
it was fantastic.
It was so good that we had decided that we weren't just going to record the same one again and that we changed the entire format of the show.
Yeah, I just didn't want things to feel forced. You
Yeah,
know.
I didn't want things to feel forced or rehearsed or to feel like we were rehashing something. So we figured if we go by the books instead of alphabetical, then
We still have a system to abide by.
not only do we have a system, but we also don't have to we don't have to feel like we're repeating ourselves when we go back and do Banu Hakim again.
Yeah,
You know? So
yeah. I'm still looking forward to that video.
oh my god. It was so dude, so painful. Like when I realized that the sound didn't record.
Yeah, but
So
you did
mad.
what any good like role player and theater kid does. You took that anger and frustration and you channeled it into a Bruja video, and it was good.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. I'm glad we did that too, because I would have been like, it would have been so weird if it was all alphabetical except for the Banu Hakim, which was like just in the wrong spot.
Yeah, it would have
Like
annoyed me
that
more
would
than
have bothered
anything.
me. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So today, however, we are covering the Caitiffs. The they have various epitaphs. They are the Clanless. They are the orphans. The Panders. The trash. The scum. The freestylers. I love the Caitiff. I've never had a chance to play one, but I really see them as the pure vampires,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my
I
opinion.
completely agree. So I also love the Caitiff. They were the first thing in so my first clan that I played, as I was Gangrel. My
Yeah.
first real character was Adventure, like the actually well thought out character was Adventure. Um, but the Caitiff have always had like a special place in my heart.
Hmm.
Um, and it wouldn't be a tapping the vein episode if Silent didn't get a little like deep
Little,
when
little
a little a
nostalgic.
little a little poetic here, but they spoke to me as like the misfits, the guys who don't belong, right?
Yeah, I'm really
And that's
surprised that's not one of their alternate names is
the
Misfits.
misfits. I thought
Yeah,
it used to be, but
it
maybe
might have
maybe it
been.
wasn't.
It might have been.
But yeah, I mean, I think they spoke to me as somebody who didn't feel like he belonged in anywhere at the
Yep.
time. I started playing in high school, right? So like cliques and groups were really Like I went to a high school where it really was like a teen drama TV show. Like
Hmm.
you had the jocks, and you had all these different groups of people, and I had a few friends scattered amongst them, but I belonged to none of those groups. So the Caitiff were the perfect like in-game representation of how I felt in real life. Um, but just like as I've grown as a player and a storyteller, they're still just one of my favorite conceptual like parts of the game
Yeah.
because, like you said, they're pure vampires. They're untainted. They are untainted by the antediluvian banes.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Absolutely.
I mean I even have a character who's like really really drinking that Kool-Aid, of like the whole Caitiff purity.
Yeah. I really do think that they are the other side of the spectrum of Clan Ventrue, which are like, we are the best vampires, and no, they're not. They have so many things wrong with them. I'm sorry, but the Habsburg line of royalty really comes to mind when I think of Clan Ventrue. But like the
That
Caitiff, the Mutts, they have, like you said, they have no bane, they have no weakness, they have no like nothing like normal vampires have.
yeah,
And these guys can go above and beyond when it comes to learning things as well. Given case we look at the disciplines, they can literally have any three disciplines they want to, and the only difference is like it costs just a little bit more.
yeah.
It's a little
So
harder for them to learn it.
yeah, so I mean, kind of getting into the V5 take on the Caitiff, it's
Hmm.
no different than any edition prior,
Yep.
with the exception of maybe like starting with a flaw, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but like they have no in clans, but they have no out of clans either.
yeah. Well,
So they're
and
in the
that and
middle.
their out of clans are cheaper.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
like you get your three disciplines that you choose. In the first edition tabletop, in the first edition tabletop core book, when they talked about Caitiff, it says go ahead and pick whatever disciplines that you want. If you can't think of anything, take potence, presence, and fortitude, just because those are the basic survival disciplines.
Right.
Um, but aside from that, you're paying the same set cost for those three disciplines as you would any other discipline that you get, as long as you follow the requirements to learn them. So if you have your three and you want to learn something outside of it, it's going to cost you the same as your standard three, but you
Yep.
still have to taste the blood of somebody who has it, drink the resonance of something that would provide it, and also, yeah, you still have to learn it. The same
Yeah,
way
you,
any
you
standard
still have,
vampire would, but it's cheaper at that point. As a
well,
caitiff,
I
disciplines
mean,
are cheaper.
I don't know about the learning it part. It doesn't. I don't believe it actually says you have to learn it
It
like you do. Like
says
you
it
have to drink the vitae of a kindred who possesses the discipline, to my
It,
understanding.
it says, and I'm looking at it right here. It says
Okay.
these are not considered. It says that caitiff characters have access to three disciplines of their choice following the embrace. These are not considered in clan for the purpose of experience cost, and the caitiff can learn any discipline at the same price, assuming they taste the blood of a wielder at least once and fulfill the standard conditions for that discipline.
Okay. Fair
That
enough.
tells me
That's the
that you
same thing.
need to have a standard condition is you have to learn it from somebody who's teaching it from you.
That is true. Yeah, I stand corrected.
Now, they could very well go out and bite somebody who has a discipline that they want, take their blood, and then go to another caitiff who has that discipline, and they'll tutor them. That is
That's true.
100% possible.
Yeah. I mean, so you have to think too, like the community of the Caitiff.
Hmm.
Especially in V5, they really start to like actually kind of ramp up the actual like community elements of the
Yeah,
clanless.
yeah, they do.
They don't have a clan; they have a community, and so the Caitiff like borderline on this interesting kind of precipice of like we're alone and no one will teach us anything, and then you've got these older Caitiff who are like, hey, we're going to show you the ropes because no one ever showed us the ropes,
Hmm.
and then in this like kind of pander sabat like sabat pander kind of vibe, they're trading vitae with one another, they're teaching each other disciplines,
Yeah,
they really are growing as a threat to the overall like kindred structure. And kind of going back to something we were saying just a minute ago was like the reason the Caitiff, though they are technically like the pure vampire, untainted by an antediluvian's curse, history is written by the victor.
Hmm.
So the progeny of the antediluvians are these mass spanning cursed vampires who are just killing anything that's not like them.
Oh yeah, no, and the best part about
Saying,
Caitiff
and
is
then they're the ones saying that and then they get to be the one to say that the Caitiff are the guys who are different.
yeah.
It's like no, you're actually the one that's different.
Well, these guys don't have the 500-year-old society breathing down their neck that's telling them how to act and stuff.
Exactly.
These guys are fresh from the field and doing what they know, which is getting along with community.
Yep.
Camarilla teaches you not to get along with community, even as you're smiling in their faces.
Yep.
While this is a group of people who are learning that the ones who have been around, the ones who have the family structures of the clans, are the ones that you cannot trust, and not all you can do is trust other Caitiff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, everything we see in the lore, right? Support kind of really supports that as
Yeah,
that is the truth.
absolutely.
Um, I One thing I was going to ask you specifically is the use of the word the Unbound.
Uh huh.
I've seen it. I've seen people refer to the Anarchs as the Unbound, but
Hmm.
that's not true. I don't believe.
I feel like that's because there was a book called Anarchs Unbound.
I understand. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's why that is a common thread.
Okay. Because I've always seen, at least from everything that I've read, the Unbound is like a reference to this growing Caitiff community, right?
Hmm.
So who kind of stands outside of the realm of Anarch, and I think they're mentioned in the Anarch book, but the way they're talked about is like they're referenced as like kind of external from any political affiliations.
Yeah.
It's just this growing horde of Caitiff
I think
and
that
and
might be
Bloodstained.
like we always find while doing these videos, we always find a way to mention Requiem in some fashion. And
Yeah, they didn't have Caitiff in Requiem.
I feel that the reason that these guys like Unbound comes to mind with that is because Unbound was a term in Requiem that basically said that you are not affiliated with any of the covenants,
Yeah,
which were
yeah, that's
effectively
true.
like the interconnected sects within
Yeah,
in Requiem.
I forgot about
Which
that.
yeah, so being unbound typically in a Requiem game meant that you were also turning your back on your clan, because a lot of the times the clans would be set up in the different covenants.
Yeah,
So I feel that the idea of Caitiff being considered the quote unquote unbound might actually be that, it might come from that in an out of character sense. But I also feel like the merit unbondable is very common among the Caitiffs.
it is. Yeah,
So that would make them unbound in a way.
yes, that is true. Yeah, I didn't draw that conclusion, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they're unbound in the sense that like they have no clan ties either, right? Like
Yeah.
their blood is not. They don't carry a clan's.
Yeah. They most of the time they don't have to answer to a primogen or anything like that.
Right. They don't have elders breathing down their neck.
Yeah. Well,
They don't have these.
they do, but for
Well,
worse reasons.
they don't have. Yeah, they don't have them. They don't have their own elders breathing down their back. They
Yeah.
actually build a community, and I think like character wise, like right, because we always talk about character creation in pretty detailed depth, you and I.
Hmm.
But like, if you have a character that you just want to play that character, you don't really care. You're gonna play a vampire game, and you don't care about all of the stereotypes and the interclan workings and whatever. Play a caitiff. Like, just play your character.
I really feel like there should be more Caitiff players.
Yeah.
I really do. You don't see them very often, and at least I don't in my games. And I mean at this point I'm running a significant amount of games, and I can honestly say that out of all of the games that I've run, I've got one Caitiff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I got one. And I mean, a lot of people are just like, oh, well, I want to play this because check out this, and I want to play this because check out this. But like, the Caitiff should be building in traction. There should be more and more Caitiffs as the final nights progress.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. Thin
No,
Bloods too. I don't.
I
I don't see many Thin Bloods either. But I guess we'll cover that next week.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not
So
crazy about the I've never
no.
been wild about the thin bloods, but I mean that mentioning them, they do have a place in this video because the word caitiff, there are multiple definition or like multiple meanings for
Mm,
it. Right. So what we up until this point, all we've been talking about is like the actual caitiff, like caitiff by blood.
yeah.
But the 13 clans, they use the term caitiff as like I believe it's like a derogatory term for anyone who's been ostracized from their clan,
Yeah. I
right? So
feel
you
like
have
that's what
or
it was
who were never
originally.
indoctrinated. It was.
Like I feel if the word Caitiff popped up in a Dark Age game, it was because someone was ostracized from their group or excommunicated from their clan.
Yes, but there were in the Dark Ages. That's when like the Unbound caitiff actually started to like kind of show themselves. They didn't have traits of the blood, and everybody was like, "It's
True.
Gehenna," you know.
The Harbingers of Gehenna.
Yeah. Um,
Those guys are
you
funny.
know, the caitiff. There was I believe it was a first edition book that was like something. It was like pariahs.
Yeah, yeah, the Pariah book.
Yeah, the pariah book.
Yeah.
And there's a very small like, and it covered all the like outcasts from the different splats.
Yeah, yeah. It talked about
Um, I think it was like the
abominations and stuff like that were all in those books.
no, that would have been I don't actually remember what book those were in
Were
off the
they
top of
not?
my
I
head.
thought they were.
No, the pariah book talks about I mean, maybe mentions them. But the Pariah book talked about Caitiff, Ronin werewolves, and I
Mm.
think they're called. I think the Hollow. Are they the Hollow Ones in Mage, or is that a New World of Darkness term? I don't remember.
I
But
think the hollow ones sound familiar.
yeah, the Mage is without a tradition. And so in that book, and it's a really interesting book. There's a section for the Caitiff about creating disciplines.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And there's also some like lore stuff. And one of my favorite things that like I couldn't go through this video without mentioning is the legend of the Stone Man.
The Stone Man is a
He-
cool part of the story of the World of Darkness. That is for sure.
yeah. So the legend goes for the amongst the Caitiff is that he is one of the there's all these different assumptions about what the Stone Man or who the Stone Man is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Some people think that maybe it's actually Cain,
Hmm.
but it's obvious. I don't personally subscribe to that, but others think that he's like a second gen who survived.
Yeah.
And then others say he was like the first caitiff, like the first real, like actual caitiff ever sired. And he's like thousands of years old. And he goes around like helping other caitiff and teaching caitiff
Yeah.
stuff and like pulling them out of situations and like teaching them valuable lessons, this, that, and the other. And I love that the fact that the caitiff, I think, are maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the caitiff are one of the only things in Vampire that actually have like a quote unquote local legend, right? Like all the other clans just have like
Uh,
conspiracies and like
I
ancestor
mean,
worship, but like the caitiff actually have like a legend, like a myth.
the Nikchuku, arguably.
Okay, yeah, good point. I didn't think about those.
Yeah.
That's but but yeah. So we this is the point of the video where we normally get into like Bane and some of the book stuff,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
but there's really not a lot.
there is a listing on Bane.
Yeah.
There is a listing on Bane, which is actually kind of interesting to go over. It says, untouched by the antediluvians, the Caitiff share no common bane. Caitiff characters begin with the suspect flaw, and you may not purchase positive status for them during character creation. The storyteller may always impose a 1 or 2 dice penalty on social tests against fellow kindred who know they are caitiff regardless of their eventual status. Further, to improve one of the disciplines of a caitiff costs 6 times the level purchased in experience points. I mean, that's not as bad as buying an out of clan discipline for other people.
Yeah, because I mean, normally your in
So
clans are ×5 and your out of clans are
is that
×7.
is that a flaw?
It's only a flaw because they don't have a ×5. Like they don't have disciplines at ×5. That's
Yeah,
the only reason it's a flaw. But
that's
it's
true. That's true. But I think their bane is actually pretty tame, and I think that is the point of Caitiff.
yeah,
The idea that they have to start with the suspect flaw, regardless of sect, is very interesting because you would imagine that this wouldn't be something that would pop up in the anarchs from time to time.
oh, but it
But
is.
I know. It's so weird that the anarchs are also very like clanist when it comes to that kind of thing. But I guess that's kind of it's par for the course when you have something as passionate as Clan Bruja running the show. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm not trying to
absolutely.
tear down Clan Bruja or whatever. We already done that in the first episode of this, but like the idea that the kindred that are the most known for fighting for freedom, making sure everybody has their individual purpose, is also enforcing the suspect flaw as much as the Ventru are in this.
Well, I mean, that's the hypocrisy of
That is, yeah,
vampires.
no, that is the hypocrisy of vampires. I completely
Yeah.
agree. Now, compulsion. You don't have one. Like, there are
Nope.
the
You just
standard compulsions that all vampires have to suffer from, but when it comes to a clan compulsion, you do not have one. There is no antediluvian pushing itself through your blood that is going to make you suffer from that.
yeah.
And that being said, there is also no alternate bane. Um, Regardless of what you're trying to do, a caitiff is a caitiff is a caitiff. You are going to have exactly what it has on there, and that is it. And I'm not sad about that. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And you actually, I had a thought about something that you said earlier. Was like you're surprised that aren't more people playing Caitiff. I
Hmm.
think that is I think that's a real life issue from the community,
Okay.
and that a lot of people back in second edition, there were a lot of people who just saw the Caitiff as like the min max vampire,
Yeah, I can
and
see that.
so a lot of people avoid the Caitiff for that reason, and they because people would look at it and go, "Oh, I can take all three physical disciplines, or I can have obtenebration, thaumaturgy, and obeya, or if I wanted." It's like,
Yeah.
well, you can, but hold on a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
There needs to be some narrative explanation for why your character can do these things or why they think they can do
Which
these things,
which
which is actually
I believe it was in
is a big,
V20 that started giving it a narrative that like more and more kindred in the Caitiff community were popping up with ridiculous disciplines.
yeah,
Like that was one of
yeah,
their signs of Gehenna, is that hey, look, this guy was embraced with vicissitude of tenebration, and why the hell does he have thaumaturgy? Like that was
yeah.
happening in I believe it was V20. That sounds familiar to me. Um,
I think it was V20. I have the only reason, and I know it's V20 because it's not second edition. Because in second edition, the Caitiff disciplines, it was highly recommended that you start with disciplines that your character would think a vampire is capable of doing because
mhm,
they didn't have anyone else to teach you.
yeah.
Right? Like,
Well, that's the whole
uh,
point of the fortitude, potence, and presence.
yeah.
Those are the disciplines that equal survival. You can
Hmm.
hit hard, you can take a hit, and you can get into people's emotions to make them feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like that's
It's
just
also presence and potence are a nice way to feed as well.
that's true. That's very true.
Um, but yeah, so I think that the reason why most people aren't playing Caitiff nowadays is just a community thing.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people, that's the Caitiff bane is the fact that, and I was gonna play one for Darkness Emergent, right? Like
Hmm.
the Caitiff's bane is that you don't belong. Your society, your species, whole social structure hates you.
Hmm.
You're second class citizens. You don't get rights. And when they give you the illusion of rights, you're the first one to take the fall for somebody else's political schemes.
When are the Caitiff going to come together and create their own political party?
Man, I tell
When
you what,
when is it going to be Camarilla, Anarch, and Caitiff?
I'm just saying because it is the Caitiff video, so I'm not going to get off on a tangent into great detail, but that is the goal of a character that I've talked to you about, probably to the point that you're tired of hearing it. But that is the character Jack. That is his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants a unified Caitiff faction.
I think that is eventually going to happen in thicker than water at some point.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm don't worry, people who are actually sitting at that table. Uh, I'm
Well,
gonna
you should
let
all
you.
be worried.
You guys are gonna have to handle the plot lines that I've fed to you and you've ignored. You guys are gonna have to handle those eventually before I throw anything else at you, or will you? Really, truthfully, eventually I'll get bored and just do it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really do. I do see that happening where like eventually a caitiff is going to be like, screw it, I'm a prince. Who are you going to stop me?
Well,
Like how?
I mean, there already are, and that's actually a great opportunity to segue into some of the NPCs.
Okay,
Mukhtar Bey.
Mokhtar Bey.
Yeah, the Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, that's
Or
absolutely true.
Cairo. Cairo.
Yeah,
He's a Caitiff. He
that's true.
has
Which is actually kind of funny because there's a quote unquote caitiff prince in Sydney, Australia, who's actually a Setite.
oh really?
Yeah, that's funny to
That
me.
is funny. That is funny.
It's like, come on, guy. Like,
Yeah, Mukhtar Bey, and I apologize to anyone if I'm butchering the pronunciation of his name. That's just how I read it. But
yeah,
um,
that's
he
okay. We're gonna
is.
get bitched at for saying caitiff instead of Caitiff, or we're gonna get bitched at for saying Caitiff instead of caitiff. Like, it's just you're gonna get complaints about the way you pronounce things.
That's true, but you forgot there's also the really extra way of pronouncing it, and that it's the Caitiff.
Caitiff.
Um,
That's new for
yeah,
me. I've never heard that.
CAI is Kai,
Huh.
pronounced Kai. But anyways,
Caitiff.
they're pronounced Caitiff.
I've always
Fight
called
me.
them caitiff. I've
Yeah.
well, I mean, if we're gonna get into that, there's also the whole like, is it Camarilla or Camarilla?
I mean, that depends on if you're French or not.
It's not French. It's a Spanish word. It's Camarilla.
Oh,
That's why I love
well,
seeing those people who are like, I've been around since the formation of the Camarilla. And I'm like, really? Then you should have been there when they said it for the first time, because that is not how you pronounce that word. It's not French.
there you go. Now, the more you know.
It's because of, I think it's because of the founding Toreador,
Oh, absolutely.
Raphael de
Yeah,
Courtesan. He's like, I'm going to make everything French.
yeah. But I mean, in typical Caitiff fashion, this video has kind of been really unchained
Hmm.
so far, and I think that's pretty
Or,
spot
wait,
on.
am I doing that backwards? It is a French word, not a Spanish word. Either way, it's Camarilla. Stop it.
Fight me.
Fight me. Change my mind.
Change my mind. But do we want to go over the archetypes
Yes.
for the Caitiff?
Yes.
Because
Let's go over the archetypes.
they do present some really good ones here.
These are very, very fun. The Caitiff archetypes. We have the raised on the streets. This Caitiff. This Caitiff was brought up. Wow, World of Darkness. You might want to freaking edit this a little bit. This Caitiff was brought
And this
up.
is the most edited
This
version
is the
of
most
the
edited.
book.
Is brought up in the worst part of the city by parents who either did not care or were not able to protect them. If they had parents at all, it is likely they never had hope for a meaningful, prosperous life. For them, the embrace was an escape, and their sire performed it out of respect for their preference against the odds, or their perseverance against the odds.
Perseverance.
So basically, we have the stereotypical poor orphan who was embraced probably out of pity more than anything to try to make their life better. But it was a caitiff who embraced them. So they just
Yeah,
doomed them to the worst part of Kindred society anyway.
that's a really fascinating thing too. Is you don't see a lot of it. You see less. You don't see a lot of people play Caitiff. You see even less people play Caitiff, and actually just be from another, like sired by another Caitiff.
That's
And that's
true.
something that I think is more popularized narratively is more focused on in B5.
Hmm.
In that Caitiff are embracing.
Hmm.
They are making more of their own, and they're siring clanless vampires more and more each
Yeah.
night. And the Raised on the Streets is, I mean, I think I told you about this one time, but I had a setting that I was writing where it was like I was going to be using V5, but it was like an alternate kind of a what if,
Yeah,
situation.
no, we talked about this.
Yeah, and so in that world, I wanted to flip the narrative on its head and be like, if you're a vampire, you're just a caitiff.
Yeah.
But every now and again, the talons of the ancients will crawl up out of the blood every now and again,
Hmm.
and a child that is embraced is actually a member of a clan, and they're kind of the weird ones. They're the
Yeah.
ones that everybody looks at and goes, "Ooh, you're a bad sign. You're a reminder of a
Yeah.
time period we'd
Yeah.
rather not go back to."
Yeah,
Um,
no, I remember that. That was a really cool idea.
and the whole premise of that game started with I just wanted to run a vampire game that was very personal and very like modern and very real.
Hmm.
And it was like I had set that game up to where I was going to run it for mortals. They were going to play mortals.
Hmm.
And as they interacted with the NPC and their stories unfolded, if they were embraced, they were embraced, and that's great because that was the ultimately that was the goal of the story,
Yeah.
right? But like um, the Raised on the Streets is just very real. It is that kind of the embrace saved me story,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't have to be the embrace saved me. It doesn't really say one way or the other. The sire did it in hopes to improve their lives, maybe, but
Hmm.
like you said, they're embraced into the worst part of. They're embraced into the worst way
Yeah, I
possible
mean,
into
this
the
could very well be
into the
somebody who is
social
in.
structure.
This could be very well somebody who is braced into Clan Gangrel, and then just
That's true.
didn't manifest the qualities of Gangrel for one reason or another.
Hmm.
Um, which was in my mind when I first started playing the default of Caitiff, because Gangrel are known to embrace and run. So
Yep.
this kind of thing happened from time to time. So, do you want to go over the abuse survivor?
Yep. I can do that one.
Yeah. Let's
Just a
just
little.
alternate.
Yeah, we'll do that, but I do want to give people the respect before reading it. I don't know how detailed this gets, so trigger warning.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, I usually skip over that simply because we've got the disclaimer at the very beginning. But yes, no, out of respect for anybody, we don't know exactly how deep and detailed it goes into the description of this. So, trigger warning for anybody who might have sensitivity to this. If this is a line or a
take
veil, you might want to skip
take
over
a
this section.
take a beat, skip a few seconds forward. But yeah, so abuse survivor. Caitiff habitually target abuse victims for the embrace. The survivor caught the attention of their sire by attending a support group, appearing in the papers as a prosecuting victim. Did I read that right? By attending a support group, appearing in the papers as the prosecuting victim in an aggravated assault case,
Hmm.
or perhaps by writing a particularly striking blog post on the subject of their experiences. As the street kid, the survivor was quote unquote rewarded with immortality, a chance to fight back against their abusers. Having been through terrible experiences already, they are judged to make a fine member of the clanless.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too severe, but
Yeah, no, that wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. That actually
yeah,
kind of brings me back to the concept of Theo Bell's embrace.
yeah,
He's an abuse survivor. He's a severely abusive survivor. If anybody wants to go back and read that one, it's really not even comparable. But the whole concept of like that this is somebody who's rewarded with being put in the worst part of kindred society.
true.
Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, these sires who are Caitiff, who are embracing more Caitiff
Hmm.
as a reward?
Well, I
Like,
mean,
is there a
yeah,
delusion of grandeur going on with the Caitiff?
I mean, there certainly is room. There certainly are some with delusions of grandeur. Sure. No, I think this is a personal like this. That's the thing about Caitiff
Hmm.
is these they're not, they're people first,
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to
that's
say.
that is true, and a lot of the
They're
time, the
still,
beast will talk you into doing stupid things.
well, that's true, but I actually look at this as like these people are embraced because of their humanity.
Mm.
It's like you would never, like, these people are people who are going to die sad and pitiful lives, more than like statistically speaking,
Yeah,
right? And I mean, a lot of Caitiff are already, like, the reason Caitiff sires embrace is because they, these people specifically, is because they know what they're going through, right? And
I mean,
some
I
Caitiff are doing it because it's like,
I see what you're getting at here. At least I think I understand what you're getting at here. But these are still people, these kindred who are siring, the sires of the Caitiff, who are assumed Caitiff themselves.
yes,
They know that they have the suspect flaw.
yeah,
Like I
but
don't understand the whole concept of I'm going to embrace you cuz your life is going to be so much better. Let's get you spit on for eternity. I just
I
don't I
mean
don't grasp it.
that, so that gets into like some really deep setting conversation.
Yeah.
Um, V5 specifically, and I don't see anybody run V5 this way. I don't even see World of Darkness write their setting books this way. They were like, the Camarilla is the super like social small elite group that has just secluded themselves from the rest of Kindred society, and then they write Chicago, and it's like, well, Camarilla is still pretty strong and
Yeah.
forthright there. Um, and so, in the way that the V5 core book was written, the Camarilla was retreating from like even the Kindred public eye for the
Yeah.
most part. They were like, you know what, you want your freedom, you can have it. Bye, go away.
Well, that makes sense
We don't want the risk that you bring to us.
considering the fact that they're kind of edging in other factions now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there is hints of like the Digital Collective, the Aurora League, the Free Spirits. These are all. I understand a lot of people who are listening to this have never heard of those groups, but like we're going to see like the Wilting Lilies and things like that are going to start coming out in books, starting with the Gehenna War book. Like
Hmm.
I believe that when they were talking about it, they were saying that they were talking about introducing the Aurora League, which is one
Really?
of the factions that I experienced and got to play with in the San Antonio Darkness Emergent event.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
these are already active in the By Night Studios LARPs,
That's awesome.
and they're going and it kind of brings to mind the idea of what the original concept for Bloodlines was, or sorry, Bloodlines 2
Hmm.
was, where
Yeah,
there were like
the different
five
factions.
different factions that were fighting control over Seattle,
Hmm.
which kind of has taken a back seat due to the fact that they introduced
Yeah,
fire and all this stuff. But like the idea that the Camarilla has gone, you know what, things are getting too big for us because our elders are gone. Let's take our
mhm.
ball and go home. But like someone still has to maintain control over the masquerade.
That is true.
So
And the anarchs would tell you that they can self-police them, so like they can police themselves,
yeah,
but
and hopefully they're right. But I mean,
they're
I
not.
don't have much respect when it comes to the anarchs as it is. So
But so to answer your question is like, I mean, I think that you know what I'm getting at when I'm saying this, but it's like it's a personal. These sires aren't embraced, and some of them I'll say some of these sires are embracing, going, you've endured this much, you can make it in the next, in unlife.
I
You're made of a
guess.
tough enough stuff to do it. But then there are some of these people who are like, just do your, like, I'm gonna save you from the life that you currently have.
Hmm.
What you do after that is entirely on you. If you get involved in the politics, they're gonna treat you like second class citizen. That's on you. that's your choice to get
Yeah.
involved in that. Maybe their sire is not involved in it. Maybe it's an anarch city. Maybe it's an independent city, because I think in the modern knights especially that should be more common.
Hmm.
Um,
I can think of
but
one.
yeah, an independent city.
I can think of one canon independent city,
Okay,
Washington D.C., which is run
Marcus
by
Vital.
Marcus Vitel, the ancient friggin' Lasombra,
Well,
who is emperor of the area, who's basically like, don't make a mess in my city and you can stay.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think you're right, but I also am very interested in seeing what World of Darkness would mark down as the structure for such things.
Well, that comes down to the individual faction.
Yeah, I would just like to see it.
We should put a bookmark in this, and we should just, after we get through the clans, let's do a like just a general setting video, tapping the vein.
That's a
Where we
good
talk,
idea.
where we can just talk about factions and like what our interpretations of the modern knights' political structure or like social structures look like.
All right. Well, in a month or so, maybe 2 months, we're gonna get to that then because we'll get through the player's guide and then we'll cover Camarilla, Sabbat, Anarch, Independent, and all that junk.
Cool.
That sounds like a lot of
So
fun. I'm interested in that.
yeah, I think that's a topic that the community would
Yeah.
likely, because of
The,
the
now
conversations I've had in Discord.
now I've put the vote out also of what we should cover next, and a lot of people are like werewolf, werewolf, werewolf. So
I, I
yeah,
love
well,
you guys.
I'm excited about werewolf too. I can't say that I'm not.
I did absolutely, and I mean this with all sincerity. I did nothing to sway their vote, but I see you. I got you guys. I see what you're cooking with. Let them cook.
All right. After the abuse survivor, we have the helplessly overestimated. This caitiff was embraced by the clanless for all the wrong reasons. Perhaps they threw off a cruel boss's yoke once, or dumped an abusive partner, but this behavior was an exception in their life. They were chosen for the perceived strength, and now they are hopelessly lost and overwhelmed by their existence as one of the kindred. I kind of feel that the hopelessly overestimated is the raised on the streets or is the abuse survivor for the most part. You know, like
Yeah,
obviously they don't have to be, but it definitely could be. Like,
but can I say something
yeah,
that
yeah,
could potentially be? Like I'm going to say this for everyone listening. Like this could potentially be too real. This is what happened. This is what most of us would be if we were actually embraced.
okay,
Most people do not have the strength and resolve, and the just most people react in life. I feel like most people are just reacting, and the person who like a lot of, and myself included, I'm speaking to my about myself here as well. A lot of people are like, yeah, that's bad for me, but I'm not going to change it, you know. So it's like most people don't have the oomph about themselves, I don't know what to call it, to change their lives for the better,
I think it's just
myself included.
I think it's just an inner stamina to be
Yeah,
able to
like an
to completely restructure yourself to that kind of thing.
yeah, the discipline, the self discipline,
Yeah,
the drive or the ambition. And of course there are very ambitious and driven people, but not everybody's like that.
yeah,
I think this is what most people who read that probably go, yeah, that would be me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people read it and go, yeah, that would be me.
yeah. That the
So
person who decided to sire me found me on a really good day,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
rare.
Most people, I like, especially in today, and maybe it's the product of social media, but everybody seems like they're just borderline depressed or like, I can't manage. I struggle to manage my own life. How could I ever be involved in something else's?
Hmm.
And that's this person.
Well,
They got caught. They
then you
got
have
caught
the
on a
polar
good day.
opposite.
Yeah.
You find then you get the polar opposite. You get the person who was found on the best day of their life, the person who put down their abusive spouse, quit their job because of the mistreatment. You find the person who has found themselves that inner confidence,
Mm-hmm.
gets embraced, and instead of breaking back down to their normal side and just going, "Oh my god, this is what happens when I stand up for myself. You get the person who's like, hell yeah, this is what happens when I stand up for myself. And they become that unstoppable force. Like a
Yeah.
complete juggernaut in life who's like now got superpowers and
Yeah.
then a list of people who have wronged them, which is now a menu.
So I have two things I want to say about that.
Yeah.
One, heck yeah, dude, that's an awesome character concept. I want to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. I actually and that feels very real to me. Like in the realm of like creating a deep and meaningful character.
Yeah.
That feels like a character who's very real. You know, um, maybe you have a character arc where they are the helplessly overestimated
Yeah.
for a period of time, and then maybe they get that like Uncle Fang's Caitiff who comes in and is
No.
like, hey, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, buddy. Let's get to go.
I'm just
And then
saying
they
that.
find their inner self.
I'm just saying you take one
Or
person who's
maybe they
had
just
a bad life and you give them soaring leap, and that's just fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And now the other side of me that I needed to voice is that's the guy who was sales after 3 nights.
No, absolutely. One of the things that I was actually holding my comment in because I was trying to let you have yours was, what if that person who has that list of names of people who have wronged them, which has turned into a menu, that list is a list of their touchstones and they don't realize it.
Mm,
And they're just
I didn't even think about that.
systematically draining and destroying all of their touchstones.
I didn't even think about touchstones in that
Because
regard.
like
Yeah,
if it's a person who's that important to you, negative or positive, that's a touchstone.
that's true. Yeah, that is very
You're just
true.
running
Yeah.
around eating your touchstones, not realizing that you're just letting yourself fall further and further to the beast while you're doing it.
Oh, then you end up a pander, or if you don't
I
end up a
mean,
white, you end up a pander.
true. I mean, killing your touchstones does not necessarily mean you're going to fall to a sale. It just makes it a hell of a lot easier for that to happen.
Yeah, I feel like after we get through these last couple things, we actually should probably mention what panders are
Yeah,
because we
no,
actually
no,
haven't
we
talked
will
about.
we will
We said
definitely go into that.
I just realized we haven't actually said what they are.
You want to
Uh,
do? I
the
think you're
secret
you're on
caitiff,
secret
sure.
Caitiff. Yeah, secret Caitiff.
Yeah. The secret caitiff. This kindred awoke as a caitiff, but they managed to hide it from their sire. They are now a full member of their ancestral clan, attending the rituals and obeying the traditions of their kin in return for the protection of their elders. They have no desire to go through eternity alone, and they will do whatever it takes to keep their secret hidden.
I feel like this is a lot easier than it makes it sound.
Yes.
I have played so many characters that fake their clan,
Yeah.
that this is something that definitely could be easily achieved in the long term. So, and
So
this
I have
basically does say that you do have a sire who belongs to a clan. You're not embraced by a caitiff here.
correct. So I'm of two minds on this.
Okay.
The secret caitiff, I've played the secret caitiff.
Hmm.
And probably the clan that made the least amount of sense, which was the Tremere.
Hmm.
A lot of fun though. But the reality, like the line of where
Oh
is it?
my
Let me find it
god,
here.
the Tremere would want this in their clan.
Yeah,
Like
that's
seriously,
why
now in fifth edition, the
his
Tremere
sire
would want
knew.
this.
His sire knew because his
Hey,
sire like
hey, look,
does the embrace.
it's a
Yeah.
Tremere that doesn't suffer from perfectionism. It's a Tremere that doesn't have the issue with blood bonding.
Yep.
This is the goal of Clan Tremere, is just to have a bunch of Caitiff Tremere now.
Yeah. I mean that was kind of the plot line that was going on in my story, but
That's cool.
um, this idea of they managed to hide it from their sire. That implies that they understand that being a caitiff is bad.
I mean, I think you'd pick that up in the first couple nights. Like if you have a sire who is teaching you, or who is at least taking you to the Elysium to meet other kindred.
Hmm.
And then over time you realize, well, you're not suffering from the same issues that your sire and your other clanmates are. Like this is something that I feel that after a few, maybe a few weeks, you would realize I'm not the same. Like maybe you
Yeah.
have disciplines that are a little bit off. Maybe you just realize that like, oh, you frenzied, but you didn't grow a tail, and your sire's a gangrel. Like I feel like this is something that you could definitely get caught with, but also if you're slick enough and observant enough, you could definitely get away with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I could see it. It does just feel like it feels a little like a stretch to me, just because when you're first embraced, like that you're your most volatile in your first few nights,
Mm-hmm.
with the because you're learning to manage hunger and frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically in the example of the gangrel, like if you lose yourself to the hunger, like your first time feeding and you lose yourself
But
to
it's
the
not
beast and
it's
the
not
hunt.
always physical traits.
Yeah, but your sire, like you wouldn't even know
If
what you're
if
what
you
like.
realize, like if you have not frenzied yet, and you see how the other gangrel in your sire's coterie or something like that behave, and you realize that you frenzied, and you're quick-witted enough, and you're on your feet when it comes to that stuff, and you just start like acting animalistic, like pretending to be moody, like there are ways to get around this. Obviously, gangrel's going to be
Oh,
hard
there's
because they're going
always
to expect you to have glowing eyes or some shit like that. But
Yeah. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, sure.
yeah,
I feel like this is one that if a player was like, I want to be a secret K, I'm gonna be like, well, how did you pull that off? That was something I thought about a lot when I did mine.
yeah.
Was the answer was he thought he pulled it off and his sire knew, but she didn't care.
What about what
Because it
if
was messed
you're in?
up.
What if you're embraced into like Bruja or Toreador or something like that, or Ventru? Like
Uh,
how much fun would it be to go into a game with another player? The player that you're going in with turns in Ventru, looks at the storyteller and goes, "Yeah, this one's playing my sire." You turn in the character sheet that says Caitiff. And then you walk in and you go, "Yeah, I really love this type of blood. It's
yeah,
delicious." Like you could definitely fake it with a Ventru.
yeah. I mean, you absolutely could fake it with a Ventru.
It's like
The
you gotta pretend to be Ventru as a Caitiff. That would be the greatest thing ever.
I mean, if you think about like humans and their preferences, like vampires have their preferences
Yeah.
too. So it's really not that far of a stretch to pretend to be a Ventru.
With the Toreador thing, I
Where
would
that challenge comes in is you cannot be an ignorant caitiff pretending to be a
no,
Ventru.
no, you cannot be an
You
ignorant. You have to be
you would
intelligent.
not know the names. You would not know the names and decorum that
Yeah,
you were supposed to like. But
but I like I'm
I mean
seeing
the
the
Toreador.
Toreador, the Toreador. The idea of like how I feel like playing a Caitiff that was masquerading in Clan Toreador in this fashion is like me on the 4th of July. Everybody is standing around looking at the sky going, ooh, ah, and I'm just like, when is this crap going to be over? I freaking hate fireworks.
I'm the same way though.
Like, I hate the noise, and I hate the bright sudden flashes, and I'm just watching everybody go, ooh, ah, and I'm like, it sounds like war. Am I supposed to like it because it sounds like war? Like, and I just see this being the caitiff in a room full of Toreador who are mesmerized by something pretty.
I mean,
Like
I guess the Toreador aren't. They are the clan that would be the least likely to notice, maybe.
you've got like a dozen Toreador standing around a canvas in an art gallery, and then you got the one caitiff who's like, it's freaking blank. There's nothing
I just had
on
a really
this.
interesting idea.
There's nothing on this canvas, and the name of the painting is called "Take the Money and Run." Like that happened, by the way. That's why I bring that up.
Oh, that's that. I mean, it's better than a banana tape, duct tape to a canvas, and sold
Oh
for
my
like
god!
several million
I
dollars.
went to an art show and somebody took a piece of driftwood and mounted it.
Yeah,
They spent 5 minutes on that $25,000 work of art.
yeah. Modern art's such a crock of crap. But anyway, don't get me started on modern art. I
Okay.
just had an interesting idea though for this concept.
Okay.
The secret caitiff in regards to the clan, right?
Uh huh.
Not necessarily to the sire. A Nosferatu who embraces,
See,
and their child doesn't
secret
be
Caitiff would be really, really hard with Nosferatu.
actually, but the sire goes, I don't want to be I don't want to be like held responsible for a child who like I don't want the and I know the Nosferatu maybe aren't necessarily the clan for this kind of treatment, but it could be
Nosferatu walking around going, I shouldn't have kids.
so. But like they could be like, oh, I don't want to seem impotent,
Okay.
like they don't want to seem whatever, and so they just make the child dress in full like complete obscure attire
I mean, that's
and
absolutely true. Yeah.
and just make them like like slum it around in the Warrens, and then you end up with a really awesome character of like I'm a Nosferatu. I don't take off the mask. I don't take off the sleeves or the gloves.
And they've actually got the stunning merit underneath it all.
Yeah, yeah. They've got the stunning merit underneath it all. And maybe they were a Cleopatra. Like that's actually a really fascinating concept. I love this. They were a Cleopatra embraced by the Nosferatu. Turned out to be a caitiff. The sire
Uh,
didn't want the like the shame of embracing a caitiff, so makes them masquerade as a
that's
Nosferatu.
very interesting. That's so funny. All
And then
right.
and then this character has the ability to go on and be like, yeah, I'm a Nosferatu. They go back to their they have a secret haven separate from the Nosferatu, take all the crap off, get cleaned up, and then go to Elysium as a Toreador.
That's oh my god. You got like that double agent thing going on.
Yeah,
All
that would be cool.
right. So then we have the unwanted child. The unwanted child was embraced into one of the clans, but cannot remember their sire and never bonded to the blood bond. As the curse of their ancestors never manifested in their body, they avoided the bane of the clan, and without this marker, the blood of the brothers and sisters rejects them, and they it. So, this just sounds like a caitiff.
Yeah, this is not a concept. This is
This
just
is
a
the clan
second retelling
itself.
of what. Yeah, this is a
Thank
caitiff.
you, thank you, World of Darkness, for the wonderful explanation of what a caitiff is in the form of an archetype.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. As my players told me last night at the table. I am spicy today. I am ready to just jump on
you are
people.
spicy with that.
I'm not
Yeah.
trying. I'm
Well,
not trying to be mean, but I'm just succeeding at it effortlessly.
let's pick up the ball where they dropped it here. The unwanted child is the same character I just described, except they're not welcomed.
Pretty much, yeah.
They are kicked out. Um, the unwanted child. I There was an NPC. There was a character that came to mind when I was thinking that this made me think of, and I cannot for the life of me remember their name. But they were, or maybe it wasn't somebody who was a caitiff, but they made me think of this concept for some reason.
Okay.
But there was a Ventrue who embraced, and after enough time, he noticed that like his child wasn't Ventrue. Um, and so he like they kicked him out. Like they realized that he didn't have any of the traits of the clan. They kicked him out, made made him caitiff, uh, socially and mechanically. He's also a caitiff.
Hmm.
And so now you have this character, like you have this independent, wealthy CEO or business exec who's like, I have all this money and all of this mortal influence, but I have absolutely no respect in vampire society.
Mm.
And so obviously they ended up defecting to the Anarchs and because any port in a storm, I guess. But
Yeah.
um, I mean that's a great character concept.
It is.
Or
No, I like that whole.
maybe
I
you
like
were
that
a
idea.
maybe you were a bookworm, a scholar or a researcher, embraced in the Tremere, and then they did the ritual that tells you what clan you are, and they're like, "You're not of the blood, get out." You know.
I really, really
Um,
hope that my next chance to play a vampire, I have the peace of mind to jump into the Caitiff.
they're
I
so much
really,
fun.
really do. I really feel like I've lost the opportunity to play it because I don't get to play very often. And in Darkness Emergent, I'm not gonna stop playing Mekhet until something happens.
Yeah.
So, which I pray that it doesn't. I thought I was gonna die the first time. I really hope that I don't. Um, but like I do want to bring in a Caitiff at some point. Um,
Well, I was gonna bring in a Caitiff to Darkness Emergent, but the community had other plans.
the extended coterie hath spoken. Um,
They had, uh, and I have all my Malkavian merch now for Darkness Emergent. So
Yay! I'm excited about that. I told them that you were all excited and said thank you, and they're like, "Oh, we'll pass that along." They're such
yeah,
nice people over there.
they are really nice. Yeah, they've been
Um,
great.
so we have one more, as we were talking, we have one more concept to go over here. Not archetype,
Yeah.
because many archetypes could fit into this, but
Yes.
within the Sabbat is a group of Caitiff that have taken on the name Pander. And
After
the
the guy that my avatar picture
yes,
is.
yes, if you want to know what Joseph Pander looks like, it is the picture that that Silent uses here on this channel. Joseph Pander basically bailed the Sabbat out with an army of Caitiff in the 1960s during what was it, the Third Sabbat Civil War? I don't really
It was
remember.
it was the it was the late 40s, early it was the 50s.
Was it? I thought it was the
And
60s.
it no, I'm pretty sure it was the 50s.
Okay,
I don't know why I remember that, but I remember that, I
I'm
think.
fine either way.
Um, yeah, it's in that time period though. I
Yeah.
believe it was the 50s. Um, and yes, he bailed the Sabbat out of. They were in the middle of a civil war. And the Camarilla was basically like doing what the Camarilla does, taking advantage of any situation.
Hmm.
And they were muscling in, and they were going to basically divide and conquer the Sabbat, who was already divided at that time.
Yep.
And Joseph Pander, with whom, if I remember correctly, was in a pack with a Lasombra Ductus who constantly berated him and treated him like crap.
Yep.
He went to the Sabbat higher ups and was like, which were Lasombra, and he was like, "Look, I've got a small army. We could single-handedly win you this war, but we're not going to do it until we know we have a place in the Sabbat."
Hmm.
And they were like, "Do it, and we'll talk about it." And he's like, "Done. It's done." They went. They won. They fought off the enemies. They pretty well single-handedly won that fight, that battle at the time.
Hmm.
Um, Brought the civil war of the Sabbat kind of to an end. Or their actions led to it coming to an end, I'll say.
Hmm.
And as a reward, the Sabbat was like, we recognize the Caitiff of the Sabbat no longer as clanless, but as the clan of Panders.
Yep.
And man, do I love that! I love everything about
It's
that.
a
That was
great
so
in
good.
it's a great inspirational story in the Sabbat, which is not some place where you expect to find inspirational stories, but it really
True.
was the idea of it's the same story that we get in the X-Men. You know, it's the civil rights movement.
Hmm.
You know, removing it from race so that people who have never felt that stigma of being different and treated like crap just because you haven't done, like, even though you haven't done anything. It's that story brought into Vampire,
Yeah.
and it didn't mean everything was perfect. People still went,
No.
"Oh, well, he's just a freaking pander." Like, it was the
Yeah.
same damn thing over again with a new label, but it was like a step in the right direction. And with the way that
Yeah.
V5 is, I kind of feel like the small amount of organized Sabbat that we find left, I feel has been overrun by the Panders and overrun
Absolutely.
by the Thin
Yeah.
Bloods.
Well, so that was the funny thing is when the Sabbat in that time period, the reason the Caitiff were still hated in the Sabbat,
Hmm.
like they were welcomed, but they were just seen as cannon fodder.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean, even after clan status, they were still seen as foot soldiers.
yeah.
But
Well,
they were
and
good
I
at.
mean, if you're
They
not a
made a name for
Lasombra,
themselves.
if you're not a Lasombra and you're not a Zamitzi, you were all cannon fodder, regardless of what's going on.
That's true. The only real difference there is though is that the Caitiff or the Panders
Hmm.
made a name for being the best foot soldiers.
Yeah,
They were like, if that's all you're gonna see us as, that's fine. We're
yeah.
gonna make a name for
We're going
ourselves
to be
that, and you will
indispensable at
respect
it. Yeah.
we will, yeah. And so the fact that the Sabbat has kind of gone back to that first edition Boogeyman in the Dark, they don't see Clan.
Hmm.
I think that's absolutely because the Panders have overrun the Sabbat. When the Sabbat started, they were still seen as portents of Gehenna, but they were like in true hypocritical vampire fashion. They were like, "Yeah, come on, we'll give you a home. Go
Yeah.
die for us now." As
Now,
time went on,
yeah.
they started being seen as true Sabbat, like
Hmm.
the truest of all Sabbat, the closest to Cain.
Yeah, because
You know,
they don't have weaknesses from antediluvians like everybody else does.
exactly, yeah.
Now
So I think that it's a really fun story for the Caitiff, and I
we
wish there was more stories like that in like other sects.
yeah, we get a clear narrative on why the Lasombra jumped ship in Chicago by Night.
Mhm. Yeah.
In Chicago by Night, we get a nice, clear narrative that goes over everything that they saw in the Middle East. We get a
Hmm.
narrative containing what's going on with the Amici Noctis and why the Lasombra jumped ship. We don't ever get anything like that for the Zamitzi. And I really
Correct.
think that it is the Panders and the Thin Bloods gaining so much power within the Sabbat and insisting that everybody we drop the clan names. Like, yeah, it's great that you're calling yourself anti-tribute, but you're still acknowledging. And if you give
Hmm.
something a name, you give it power. So I really feel the Pander and the Thin Bloods making all of the kindred who decided to stick with the Sabbat drop the names is what made the heavy traditionalists of the Zamitzi just go, no, not doing this anymore. And the majority
Yeah.
of them walked away because of that.
Yeah.
As much as
I
I
will
like to
say,
tease that they just jumped ship because the Lasombra jumped ship and they didn't have anybody to pick on anymore,
yeah,
I actually think it's because of the
the
Pander movement.
tradition was challenged. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, there was a. I don't remember. It's definitely not been mentioned in fifth edition, but it was mentioned. I want to say in either 20th or maybe it was second ed. I don't remember.
Okay.
But there was this mention of like the Panders were like the Panders were to the front lines what the Lasombra were to the Sabbat's leadership.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So
Well, I mean, with so many shovelheads,
it and
you don't know who's
yeah,
what clan at that point, especially when you get the Valkyrie involved.
yeah. And then you have but then they went on further to say was something along the lines of like if it wasn't for the Lasombra keeping their boot just firmly enough on the Panders,
Hmm.
like it was basically saying that like if the Panders were allowed to just cut loose and take charge, they would they would be the most formidable force in the Sabbat.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. The leadership ran away and the Panders were like, this is home. We're not changing nothing.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I
And
can definitely see that.
so I think
Well, that and
it's not been confirmed in V5, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
the Panders also would not be subject to the beckoning.
Exactly.
Now, that's given my understanding of the beckoning. And
Well, considering, I mean, most things in the world of darkness are left up to storyteller interpretation.
yeah,
But considering that Augustus Giovanni's gone and the Hakata no longer fill the beckoning,
exactly.
kind of
Cappadocius and Augustus are gone, and the Giovanni do not feel the beckoning.
exactly.
That is
So,
absolutely true. I don't think the Ravno
and
feel the beckoning either anymore.
they don't. And where is Tremere's body?
I mean,
Where is his body located?
I'm pretty sure you can find some ashes and a dustbuster in Vienna somewhere.
Probably. Okay, so I don't know. I don't even know if the Tremere feel the beckoning.
I doubt they do. I doubt they do because all of the elders were killed.
Yeah.
You know, all of the major. If you consider that most regents are most likely ninth gen,
Mm-hmm.
then no, they wouldn't be feeling the beckoning anyway. And like, we've got Carl. Is it Carl Schrecht who's running around still?
Yeah,
You got Carl Schrecht who's running around here, running around still. You got Karna who's running around still. They do
that's
not
true.
seem to
Yeah,
be. They do not seem to be suffering from the beckoning.
yeah. No, the Tremir's modern night struggle is the pyramid falling apart.
Yeah,
So they're not even dealing with that.
their
So
issue is
yeah.
that their blood is too weak
Mm-hmm.
to even feel the effects of the beckoning. I don't think the Caitiff get beckoned,
No, I don't. They don't either. I don't think they do either.
which means we could
I
very
do.
well see
I
the Stone
do.
Man return at some point.
Oh, that would be so awesome, dude. I would love that so much. I if it's not obvious, I'm a big fanboy of that particular part of
Yeah,
the Caitiff
no,
stuff, man.
absolutely.
I love it. But I have ran Caitiff in a way that like I had a Caitiff player who had Diablerized in one of my very early V5 games.
Okay.
He Diablerized and reached 8th generation. And so I made him roll. He failed it and he started suffering from beckoning.
Hmm.
The beckoning, however, was not an antediluvian. It was the ancient Caitiff. It was like the elder Caitiff that he was like 2 or 3 steps removed from, who was sleeping in that domain,
Hmm.
beckoning him to wake him up. You know, so I think that there's still like I think if there is a beckoning for the Caitiff, it's actual sire lineage.
I can see that.
It's not like antediluvian lineage.
I can see that. It's just that the idea that the beckoning or that Caitiff are cut off from clan ties.
Hmm.
That's why I would say that they just even they don't even register
Well, they're
my
cut off
personal
from
opinion.
clan ties. They're cut off from clan ties, but they're not cut off from the blood bond, like being one step blood bound to your sire.
Oh no, the blood bond is a thing. I get that completely. Um, and in fact, I think that the beckoning actually is that like never-ending blood bond that goes from sire to child to sire to child to child to sire to
Yeah.
child. I understand there's no mechanics for that. I'm not even saying it's a blood bond of one, but we would be bloodbound to those antediluvians in a way. And the only thing that's going to actually come to play of that is going to end up being the beckoning over time. And I would say without the clan compulsion and everything, the Caitiff are just they're free from it, in my opinion.
No, I mean that was my very first V5 game. I've since come to the opinion that they don't feel the beckoning either.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that it's possible for really old vampires to still communicate to to their direct lineage.
Oh yeah. No,
So
I think they should be
like
able to communicate in some fashion.
yeah, they just had
Summon is a thing.
it had symptoms that were reminiscent to the beckoning. I'll say,
Okay. Very cool.
but they weren't actually the beckoning. Yeah,
Okay.
but
So final thoughts on the Caitiff.
uh, final thoughts on the Kata. I think V5. I mean, nothing's changed, right? Like the Caitiff are great. I
Yeah.
think the only thing that's really changed is the social stuff, and I think that the Caitiff are build. I think narratively the Caitiff are building momentum,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to see where they take that momentum and what they do with it.
Very cool.
Um, if anybody's ever played a Caitiff, I'd love to hear about it in the Discord.
Hmm.
Um,
Comments too.
yeah, comments. Let's hear about those. Let's hear about those Caitiff characters. So, tell me about your interesting experiences, or if you didn't play one. You know, I've got a ton of Caitiff character concepts that I've either played or written.
Yeah.
So I would love to have conversations with people on that. But I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
There's not a lot to say about the Caitiff. I mean,
I'm I'm looking
they're
forward to the
simultaneously
whole.
everything and nothing. Like
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to the idea of a sect based
yeah.
around the Caitiff. Like I'd really like to see
Well,
that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to end up happening in my game eventually.
I think the Unbound movement, the Unbound as a faction would be just so refreshing
Hmm.
for Vampire, like as a setting. So
Absolutely.
something like that that's new would be really refreshing.
All right. So, self promotion time.
Yeah, I am Silent Comedy. I am the Our World of Darkness Discord administrator and community manager. Uh, I am also a character creation consultant, which we basically can request my services for 4-hour sessions where I go through a process that I've written out that will help you flesh out and design a character from beginning to end with well thought out depth. Um, Other than that, I am also for anyone who joins the Our World of Darkness Patreon, I am giving out free character creation sessions. I had
Nice.
somebody claim one of those the other day, and we,
Nice.
we we worked on some stuff together. And yeah, I think they got a lot out of it, and I got to I like helping people, so it was nice to get to do
Very
that.
cool. I'm glad you
Yeah,
got to do that. That's fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, and so yeah, I'm offering free sessions to anyone who joins us on the high tier. I think is called the Denizens of the World of Darkness.
Denizens of Our World of Darkness,
Yeah,
which allows you to play in a chronicle that is set in the thicker than water universe. So you can actually like do stuff that affects my player's table that I play every Friday night at my house.
and yeah. Other than that, I'm going to be at Darkness Emergent on June 6th through 9th.
Hmm.
Tickets paid for, hotels are booked.
It's exciting.
I got my
That's so
merch.
exciting.
Like, I'm so hyped right now. I'm
Very
ready
cool.
for some Darkness Emergent, man.
Me too. Me
But yeah,
too.
I'll also be playing at the table with Mekhet for the Friday game. Maybe the Saturday. That seems like it's still up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, there's some
Um,
scheduling conflicts.
yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but we'll get that lined out. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, man. I'm simultaneously like super energetic, but also just really relaxed right now.
Yeah.
So if my outro here feels a little awkward, but hopefully it was a good one.
um, I am voivodemekhet. I will also be at the Darkness Emergent event, which I am super, super excited about, not only because I get to play and run and meet more members of the community, but we got B. Dave Walters playing Prince Kevin Jackson. We've
But did you
got
not get?
Jason
Yeah,
Carl playing Critius. That was announced.
I that was announced.
That was announced. So I
That
get
was
to play in
announced.
a game with Jason Carl and B. Dave Walters. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And there's one, from what I understand, at least one more guest player who's going to be
yeah,
there playing, I think, the Primogen of Clan Gangrel?
yes,
I think.
yes. That
So
is correct.
that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see who that's going to be. I have suspicions, but I'm going to keep those to myself because I don't want to out a surprise if that's the case. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's a hypothesis of who is playing this character because it's an educated theory because I've seen how the inner workings of By Night Studios works. Um, Other than that, I run Our World of Darkness, which if you're watching this, I'm assuming you know that already, and and I am running more and more and more games over Discord for our Patreon users, which I'm so excited. I get tonight. It's March 23rd right now, so tomorrow night is the start of the Our World of Darkness Discord Chronicle. Um, and then I think on Tuesday after that, I have another vampire game for Discord, which is starting up then. So I'm getting so busy and it's insane and I'm having so much fun. So yeah, I guess that's the end of
And
my self promotion right now.
yeah, can you think back to a year ago when you were like, I don't ever want to run a game on Discord,
Oh my
and then
god,
I
I
was
think I
like,
did tell you that, didn't I? I don't ever want
you
to run a
did.
game on Discord.
You said I never want to run a game on Discord because I just don't. I'm not tech savvy, and
I'm
I'm
not
like,
tech
bro, I
savvy.
got
That's
you.
why I have you.
Dark Knights, yeah, and Dark Knights happened, and now this man's running like 6 games. Let's go, man. This has been a wild. Like,
uh,
I'm not trying to get nostalgic here, but like, this has been so much fun.
it's been a wild
Thanks
ride.
for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks
no,
for having.
thanks for participating in the insanity that is my life and helping me through it. Because, oh my
Absolutely,
god.
man. That's what friends are for, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is the end of, like I said, the penultimate episode of this portion
Next
of
week,
Tapping the Vein. Next week is the Thin
Thin
Bloods.
Bloods.
We're
Yeah.
handling the Duskborn, which I think I'm more excited about than you are.
Yeah, you're definitely way more excited about it than I am.
So, which is cool. I get it. I understand. But I have some fun things to talk about when it comes to the Thin Blunts because I really love them and I do see them as the future of Vampire the Masquerade. And we will see exactly how that ends up going over time. But I think that's it, and we should probably end it here because we're now just rambling. So we will see
Yeah.
you next time in the next video on Tapping the Vein.
Have a good one.
Yep, you too.
Drop that sick outro.